Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bomber Banter. It's the fan CAMS. What a time to be alive. Am I right? I just, I mean, I've got two things to say. Firstly, as Bomber fans, if you are not in therapy, what are you even doing? Because this team is robbing us of our sanity, and I guess we're just letting it happen. Secondly, thank God for May 28th. Not only because maybe someone was born on that day, but mainly because the mid-season draft. We are looking at five long-term season-ending injuries. It is only round 8. Someone smart, someone insightful who is a genius with these things, tell me if that's happened before to another team in the recent history, because that is extraordinarily strange to me. And yes, I am presuming that Harry Jones is going to be out for the season. His ankle was horizontal while his was vertical, and the poor guy, oh God, the look on his face. He looked distraught. He looked shocked. And I mean, more importantly, I just hope that he's okay and doing okay. I'm sure they'll get him to hospital possibly tonight. I don't know about any of you, but my nerves are shot. My nerves are shot. So somebody come on and tell me why I shouldn't give this away, this all away, because that was so incredibly painful. And especially because after the first quarter, it felt like a feeling I'd never felt at the football. I felt comfortable and impressed, and then it all just went to shit. So a little bit of housekeeping first. This is probably the earliest that I am going to be back after a 7:30 win at Marvel. I raced out of there. I think I knocked over a few grannies in the process, but I'm sure they'll be okay. So just for future, first test run, this is the earliest that it's going to be. All right, pop in the link to jump on in the chat. Please jump on, have a say, have a vent. You can say anything. Honestly, just tell me how you feel. I did not enjoy. I think, yeah, as I said, the first quarter was great. I enjoyed, I think, 5 minutes post the first quarter, and then it all really went downhill. Okay, super fuzzy. 2, 3, 4. We've gone from going missing in the third to going missing in the second and the third. And the fourth, I would say tonight, in a positive way, the first quarter was very good, whereas that's been a real downer for us. We have probably, I think we've lost every first quarter this year. So we'll take the win. Okay, we'll take that win. Vince Mapstone. Thank you for being here, Vince. That performance was worse than the Snow White remake. Oh, is it really that bad, Snow White? I was going to take my nieces to see it, but yeah, haven't had great feedback on that. Ridley hurt me bad. I mean, I talked about the 5 season-ending injuries. Ridley, are we ever going to see a full season from him? What is wrong? Why can't he run out a full season? Is it his body? Is this just going to keep happening? I mean, everyone would hate to agree with Kane Corns, but it's looking like he and Darcy are 2 of the worst contracts that we've probably given in recent times. Kieran, thank you for being here, Kieran. Hope you're well. Good win with -3 players in the end. Yeah, I mean, I was at the game. I didn't realise Gresham had gone off. Is it a groin that he's done or something like that? So that's what 3 force changes already for next week. Scotty, Thanks for being here. All turned to shit without Ridley. He didn't play the Crows game. Shit. Missed the second half tonight. Shit. We'll donate my hamstrings. I mean, at this rate, we're donating every body part. We're gonna be left without body parts. Okay. All right. Come on. I know you're feeling all the feels. No judgment. You can be horizontal in bed on the train. Here's the link. Join on. Okay, Jez, I see you. Jez,
Hey,
how are
yeah, how
you?
you going?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Had a good night on the couch watching.
You, yeah, you're the resident home. You were at home. Take the floor. Tell me what happened. Just tell me. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, I picked us to win by 1 point, and we won by 3, so it was a bloody good performance. You know, where we take the win. We're only percentage out of 5th spot on the ladder, so project top 4 is back on.
Wow. For those of you who don't know, Jeremy, who features on the Windy Hill Windsock podcast, is delusional enough to believe for a second year running that top 4 is in our future. Correct?
Well, yeah, as I say, we're percentage out of 5th. We've got a game in hand. You know, it's all looking rosy, all looking good.
So can you tell
And
me what happened?
the mask is just my ode to the windsock, to the solution.
Beautiful. Did you run with that during COVID?
Yep, this was my
Lovely. All right.
original.
Lovely. Can you please just tell me what happened? What happened? Where did it go wrong? Please.
Well, look, from the TV, you know, you don't see as much. But from the TV, we just seemed so sort of jittery, and we had this. We kept handball, doing these short, real quick handballs to players who were just standing still. It was like those little training drills where you just bounce the ball around. But they were all standing still, and so it was like the music stopped and someone would get tackled. It was like, I don't want the ball. Who wants the ball? It was like a hot potato.
Yeah.
So that sort of stood out. I mean, we had a skipper who won the game for us in Zach. He was on the TV. He was unbelievable.
Hang on. Stop on Zach. Because everyone around us where I was sitting were all in agreement that he was having a really iffy night. Were we seeing it wrong up until that last quarter where he really did dig deep? But did we have it wrong?
They said after the game he only had 80% game time, which was the lowest of anyone in the midfield.
Okay.
He spent a lot of time out of the midfield.
But in terms of like what he did do, I thought he turned the ball over going into 50. Oh my God, we were pulling our hair out because you automatically, when he gets the ball and he's looking inside 50, he and Martin are the two that you just expect are going to hit a target, create something, do something really good with it. And he butchered it going into 50. And maybe that just blew everything up, made everything bigger than it was.
I don't know. I didn't notice it. I just noticed that he was silky and classy and poised when, you know, so many of our guys weren't. But the other one on the TV who had an odd night was your big man, your big ginger, who, you know, his kicking boots were off.
Oh.
He didn't do much, but when you watch the replay, because I reckon you will watch this one, despite the fact that it was terrible. When you watch his last quarter, he was huge, absolutely
tell me,
immense.
I must say, I did spend much of the fourth quarter in the fetal position with the child sitting 2 seats down from us who was in tears. The little boy was literally, his anxiety, I reckon he was about 7 and he was in tears. I mean, if as a club we're bringing a 7-year-old to tears during a whole quarter, there is something extraordinarily wrong. So I must say I wasn't really focused in my anxiety was high. So tell me, what did Ginge do? I want to know.
Well, he got the most AFL fantasy points of
What?
anyone in the last quarter. He took heaps of marks. When you watch the replay, you'll see he did the game-saving tackle. He did the game-saving tackle. So, their big... Yeah. Their big dude, debutant, had a shot for goal and frigged it up, and it landed. Yep. It sort of spilled and landed, and Jack Darling, who'd done sweet FA all night.
Okay, didn't see it.
Poised to snap the winner, and Peter tackled him beautifully.
Oh my God! Bless you, team leader. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah. Well, Caddy all night was. Caddy went out of it in the last quarter a bit, but I mean, my God, I just love watching him play. He's just his constant throwing himself at the ball and constant presenting, just constant hunger for the ball. It's just so refreshing and warms the cockles of my heart. I love it.
I mean, and you wouldn't see this part of his game unless you're at the ground, but you just see him. He's like a cat. When he goes for a mark and misses it, and I do think he'll eventually start taking those marks. But when he lands, he's like a cat, and he just lands on all fours, knees bent, and he charges up the ground. He just presents constantly. And yeah, he's so enjoyable to watch. And I said a few times tonight, next year, he'll be marking all those halfies that he takes and kind of drops. But he's certainly just going to be such an incredible player for us.
No, it was all good. And the first quarter was amazing because and shout out to Humie and Jono on this, because I listened to them during the week. They were talking about our forwards getting too high and how we have to stretch. The forwards had to sort of stay back and stretch that space. And that first quarter, our forward line worked so well. We had space. We had players running into space. We had players hitting leading targets. We had the forwards really, it just seemed to work. Fuck knows where it went after quarter time, because it was just chaos again after quarter time. But first quarter, I think, was a really big improvement just on that stretching of the forward line and the creating of space, and then using the space. That was really un-Essendon-like. But on the TV, it looked great.
The feeling of contentment that I felt, that we all felt at the end of the first quarter, was like, this is what it must feel like to be a Geelong supporter or a Sydney supporter. Cohesive movement, leading, lowering of the eyes, evasion, clean, silky skills. Who is this team? It was a symptomatic second quarter, symptomatic of the Roos taking their pressure up, because they were closing space much, much quicker. And you just know Clarko had a word to them, because they upped their pressure. I don't know what it felt like to you, but at the ground, despite what the statistics say right now, the clearances and the stoppage clearances are quite equal, but it felt like what they did with the clearance, and it felt like they had way dominance in that area, and they took advantage of their clearances much more than we did. But what did it look like to you?
Well, poor old Goldie got destroyed by a very, very good ruckman. He was just physically rooted by the end. I did make a comment pretty early in the game. Does someone want to get on Tom Powell? Tom Powell is one of their midfielders, young up-and-coming midfielders, and he's a very good player. And he just seemed to be waltzing out of the middle. It wasn't LDU. We put a lot of time into him. He was very regularly tackled and scragged.
Yeah. Durham ran with him. Durham?
He did, yeah. Yep. But Powell was just picking up the slack, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. It was. I mean, I think Sheasel had a really good game too. I think I think he had 22 pressure acts. So I think the delusion that he's just a what did Kane Corn say? Is an accumulator or something? His possessions are. I think that's a whole lot of garbage. I think he had a really good game, and was pretty locked in. Looked pretty focused to me.
Yeah, well, he's there. He's their merit. So he's their one with the class and the poise, and he snuck forward towards the end and nearly it's nearly part of a winning move towards the end. But
yeah.
No, I mean, it would be remiss of me to not mention the bloody shocking injuries. Harry Jones, no one deserves what he's got, and we won't be seeing him. That was fucking horrible. And Rids, another hammy. That's getting worrying. But we've got Jai back next week. We'll have Darcy back soon. Lewis Hayes will get his chance with Rids gone. I hope they do debut him. All's looking good. Percentage out of 5th.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're still going. You're going with that, Jess. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you, and my nerves are still rattling, so I'm going to continue to sip my vodka and continue on. But you seem calm, cool, and collected, like you just expected this. So, and you did because you tipped it. So,
I will go and let you get onto all the ranters and ravers.
Yes. On that, get in the chat, join the stage. I will move on. Thank you, Jez. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay. Aaron. Hello.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Stressed.
Were you at the game? Were you at the couch? What? Talk to me.
At the game, I live 4,500 kilometers away, so no. But
okay.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah.
You watched it? Yeah. Tell me your thoughts.
Stressed.
I mean, why do we keep doing this against bottom 3 sides?
So good in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And we always are. I don't know. Like it's stressful watching.
It's like the tease. They just teased us into relaxing, and then bang, before you know it.
It was so good in the first quarter, and then everything just went to shit.
Yeah. Who did you think? If you had to give a 3-2-1, just fresh off the game. I know it's all fresh. We've got some love for you, Aaron, from Matt Azar. If you had to give, I know it's fresh. Who would you give your 3-2-1s to?
Cads, Merritt, Nick Martin.
Nick Martin.
I thought Jones did really well until he snapped his ankle.
Do you think we are really, really way too harsh on Jones? Because he,
yes.
I mean, we probably jinxed him into this injury, right? Because everybody all week was just saying how lucky he is to still be getting a game, and they were really going hard at him. And I honestly think some people are going to hell how that we're talking about him now that they've jinxed him into this. But yeah, do you think that a lot of people underestimate him?
100%. He isn't clean.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice. He isn't clean. He isn't best kick. He can't handball. But he can run. And sometimes with football, all that matters is running. Run. run, and he can run.
Yeah.
I've broken my hand, I've broken my nose, I've broken many bones. Watching him break his ankle was, and let's not joke and lie and all that. Watching him break his ankle, that sucked. Poor boy,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And he was on the far side when it happened, and he sat there. He sat on the side, and he did not move. He was clutching his knees, and the look on his face was sickening.
I know. And I want to give credit where credit's due. He didn't bawl. He didn't cry. He wasn't upset.
Yeah.
Yes, I have glasses, so everyone can think that I don't know what it's like. I've been punched in the face 14 times. I know what it's like. And that man took it. He took it.
Yeah. Okay, so some people, Jeremy, thanks for being here, Jeremy. Only dislocated. I don't know. I mean, is that what they're saying? I mean, there could still be a break, right?
Yeah, no, it looked like a break. It looked like a Nathan Brown sort of thing where,
yeah.
I mean, it's a bit different for Tib and Fib to be broken, split.
Yeah, okay.
But
so if it's, what's the best case scenario? You've done lots of you've broken the bones. Like, what's the best case scenario for him if it is a break or a dislocation? Do we put him on the long-term injury list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Basically. I want to say no.
I mean, but if we're gonna be without him and we've got the mid-season draft coming up and we can take another pick, then we just have to make that call, right?
Yeah, and everyone keeps saying we need a ruck. I agree, we need a ruck, 100%. Yeah. But if we take a ruck season draft, we got another 6 months of training, another 6 months of bullshit.
Yeah.
Nah.
TD, best case is 12 to 16 weeks. Oh my God. Well, that's good night. Like, the good news is add another one to the rehab group, and they can all rehab together and have fun together. No one is getting lonely at Essendon in the rehab group. So hallelujah for that.
I mean, the biggest thing is,
yeah,
we got Nick Cox coming back, and Laverty whenever he finished his suspension. We've got them coming. Yeah, I've got nothing. Sorry.
I mean, you've given this is what this is. You don't have to give anything. You can just come on here and do that, and it's perfectly fine. Dune, thanks for being here. The rehab group could win a premiership. At this stage, we're going to have so many quality players in there. Literally, that's not even a joke. Wow. I mean,
it's the point where we need to have a conversation about what's the best person in rehab that we have in the Bombers.
Yeah. I still want somebody to tell me in the chat, if you know, or if you can do a quick Google for me, has any other team had 5 season-ending injuries or put on the long-term injury list in 8 rounds? Yes. I tell you what, I'm going down there with the Sage.
It's Geelong.
Geelong
do. Yeah, but the problem is Geelong have a number 1 player who goes down, and they have a number 1 player who's the second seat.
Facts.
I live in Darwin. Like I don't know any other team who has suffered all these injuries and is still sitting. What are we? 4-3?
Yes, we are. Yep. And equal 5th. and with the game in hand. Although we're not going to beat Gold Coast. Let's be real.
Everyone keeps like saying, you know, like we're 12, we're whatever we are. We are still a game less, and I know because I went to Brisbane for our first game.
Eesh.
And we're still stuck the way we are, so I don't know.
Oh God, yeah. Well, we're looking.
This is a big issue. Harry McKay.
Ben Mackay, you talking about?
Yeah, Ben Mackay. Sorry, he's shit. I get it. He isn't that bad though.
He's going to be. I have a feeling he's going to be big discussion tonight. So, thank you, Aaron, so much for jumping on. Stay in the stream. Thank you. I'll see you next time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
See you, Aaron. Okay, I am bringing on. By the way, if you are hanging out in the waiting room area, hang out there and watch. I will get you on 100%. So just hang out. I see you, and I will get you on. I am going to bring in everything Essendon. Hello. Do I have you? Who's frozen, me or you? Oh. Okay, tell me, people in the chat, is it me frozen or is it him? Okay. All right, while he's rebooting his computer, I am going to bring in Dave. Hello.
Good, mate. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
My nerves are shot. No.
Dave. The press conference is on right now, mate. Hey.
Okay, what's he saying? You're listening to it? You're our resident press conference. What's he saying?
Trying to. He's having a bit of a go at people for talking about rotations and things like that in the last quarter, obviously because they had none. It was a bit hard listening to you guys and then watching him at the same time. So I'll get back to that later. It was too hard.
Okay. All right. So
how was it at the ground?
Oh, it was awful. Absolutely, just awful. Because you know why? Because if we're in that situation, against GWS, against a better team, we're all feeling up and about. We are loving life because it's a close game. We're on our edges, but everyone in the crowd, the anxiety that we're feeling because it's just an expectation that we should be winning this game.
Yeah.
I looked around when the siren went, and yes, a lot of people were on their feet and cheering, but there were a lot of us that were just like, you know, like it wasn't the same elation. How did you feel?
Oh, I looked at the clock in the third quarter and I saw there was 8 minutes left and no one had scored. And that's when I started stressing, when there was that long to go. And yeah, it was a tough watch in that second half, but it was, both teams were we just didn't play as well in the second half as what we did in the first quarter. And, you know, they were trying to move the ball so quickly in that first quarter. And then the players that were receiving the ball from then on, like after that, they weren't running past. So they were trying to move it on, but then there was no one. They were standing on their feet and they were getting the handball and they weren't moving. So, it's how
much of it was, like, how much credit do we give to Kangaroos versus how much did we suck?
Oh, I mean, I thought Durham did really well he played on LDU for most of the game and stuff. So I thought he did okay. We just got hammered out of Christian Zeri, just absolutely demolished Goldstein. And I know he was trying hard and stuff, but he just monstered him. And they made a point about it on the TV, is that he was bulking him, like he was making position before as the ball was being thrown up. So he always had position to get that knockout. And it didn't matter how many times that they tried to tackle him because he grabbed the ball out of the ruck so many times and stuff. So we were just lucky in that first quarter that the ball kept on spilling out, and we kind of got a run on as a result. So we were lucky to win. If 2 Metre Peter didn't get that on Jack Darling right at the end there, yeah, that's what I was thinking of you then. And those marks that he took on I don't know what side of the ground it was on, but in that last quarter, in the last kind of 5 minutes, he took 2 or 3 marks.
Yeah, he really stood up.
He did. And Durham did really well. Like he was just trying, he was just crashing through the packs in that last quarter. So and I don't think he got many possessions, but a lot of it was just kind of moving the ball out from where it was. And we were just lucky that new kid for North Melbourne ran out of time.
Yeah, he didn't take the moment, didn't he? He really panicked in the moment.
And I was getting text messages from everyone going, because his dad in the 90s was a massive basketball player. So in Melbourne, his dad's American, but he was a huge basketball player for the North Melbourne Giants in the 90s. So everyone's going, he's gonna, the mailman's coming, he's gonna deliver, because that was his nickname.
No.
Was the mailman. So yes. Wow. But I'm glad we won. I was happier that we won in this game than what I was in the West Coast game. So
that's interesting. Is that because of the first quarter though?
Yeah. I'm just hanging on to it just a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like the first quarter, we're all clutching to what we saw in the first quarter and hoping that we just we see it. I mean, I will say I was really glad to see us get off to a fast start, and because we've been so poor in first quarters, and we really set the tone. But yeah, I'm not going to know. Yeah, and we were accurate. We were really, really accurate. So that was really good. All right, Dave. I might leave you there and move on to the next. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope I see you many, 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 many times. You are welcome here so often. Thank you for everything. And I will see you soon.
You will. Ciao.
Bye. Okay, everything Essendon, you're back. Do I have you?
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Everything Essendon is obviously not your name. What's your name?
I'm Felix.
Felix.
Yeah.
Felix. Oh, of course, you're Felix. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to have a drink. Right. Oh my God. You know how you say your voice does not match your face?
No? Okay.
No.
All right.
Like in a great way. Felix, everyone. This is Felix from Everything Essendon. You hear his voice, his dulcet tones on his YouTube channel. He's very, very insightful. You say every time I listen to you, I'm just nodding my head and going, yes, yes, yes. He gives ratings on the players, and they are.
I do.
I would say, look, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's harsh, but then you explain it away, and I'm like,
yeah.
Nah, you just have a way of convincing me of everything.
Oh, I'm glad. Nice to be here. I'm glad it's all going well. Yeah.
I'm so glad to have you.
That was a rough one. That was a rough watch.
Were you there?
No, I'm out in Adelaide, so I get down
you're in
once a month to Melbourne. Yeah, for a game. I thought I'd avoid the Thursday night North Melbourne game. I'd give that one a skip. Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? In hindsight, good shout. Yeah, well done, Felix.
I mean,
no, rough watch though.
It didn't make a genius. It didn't take a genius to make that. Johnny, good to have you. Felix is the man. He certainly is. All right, Felix. Richard's asking, Felix, do you have a cold this week?
No, I'm just upset.
This is what Barry King for Essendon does to you.
Yeah, exactly. The oh man, my expected age has gone down. It was a rough one this week.
James,
but you know what?
Thank you for being here, James. Felix is a ripper. Yes. All right. Now talk to me. Over to you. Talk to me. What happened?
I did want to say, because now, obviously, not a good feeling. It does feel like not like a proper win, not like a loss, but
Yeah.
after three-quarter time, I was ready to, um, call it a loss. They had momentum. We had that bad injury, and an injury like that does deflate, the team a bit. You can tell even in the rooms that they were flat. But
Yeah.
for them to actually hold on, I'll take that, because I wasn't thinking we get the win at three-quarter time. So I think,
Felix, can you read that on the screen there from the lunchtime catch up? Can you see?
yes, I agree. Good spot for it. Yes. No, that's the plan. If I didn't have work tomorrow, that's what I'd be doing. Yeah.
Oh, damn you, Thursday night football. We
Yeah,
are.
what the hell? Get rid of it.
I don't think we are made, Felix. I don't think we are made for Thursday night football. Can we
No,
just say
no,
that?
I needed some drinks. Yeah. It was a hard one to
Yeah.
watch sober.
Okay. What I want to know from your perspective, how much was second, third, fourth quarter down to Kangaroos versus our failings? Like, what's the
Yeah,
balance? How
I
much would you
mean,
put to Kangaroos being really good?
even the second, like it wasn't fun, but it did feel like we had control of the game. It was really, I feel like it was really mainly that second half, and it was just, yeah, we looked scared. I think it was partly them being just, unreal. And they got a
Yeah.
lift when they play us. North don't like us. But yeah, we looked sloppy. It was a pretty average third quarter, unfortunately. The fourth,
So the
holding
third
on,
quarter
still looked
was.
sloppy. I mean, yeah, like they looked a lot better than us in that third quarter, and that shouldn't be the case. Even the fourth, obviously we weren't great, but looking that bad against North is not fun. I didn't enjoy watching that at all.
No, and being there, they had about 6 of their fans at the game. So well done for getting there, North fans. And about 2 out of the 6 were sitting right near us. And as
Mm,
soon as who kicked the goal to get them within like a point? I think it was Jai
Yeah,
Simpkin. He kicked, yeah,
yeah,
snap goal. And they were up on their feet and cheering so hard. They were feeling it. They were really feeling the moment, and they were
yeah,
convinced that they had it. And every time Ben Mackay got close to the ball,
you could hear it.
they were
Yeah,
jeering him so hard, and it went like he was. It was in his. He was in his head. He was in his
yeah. It
head
was
this whole
probably a mix of both fans, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some Essendon fans doing the same.
Yeah, good point. If you did do
Um,
that,
I,
you're like
yeah,
stop.
yeah. I know that really annoys me. That.
Yeah,
I think
it
it
was.
might have been Scott before the game said that it was like 85% Essendon in the crowd, but it was like watching on TV. It did feel pretty loud when North got a move on. Like their fans. I mean, we don't like them, but credit to them, they were actually up and about, which probably helped them get back in the game.
They were, and I must say, and I said this to a friend I was with there. I'm assuming you've been to like plenty of Marvel games and MCG, but this is particularly
Yep.
prevalent for Marvel. When we kick a goal and it's looking tight, or we're going on a run, so after that goal, the cheering continues, the stomping, like even at the centre bounce, we're still cheering to give
Yep.
to give the players a lift. There was none of
Yep.
that. None of that. The crowd did not do that once. I don't know who
Yeah.
starts that. G Squad. I don't know who starts that whole cheering and the that long drawn out cheer across the stadium, which the players have said time and time again, it helps so much. It gets us over the line. It did not happen once tonight.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, even me watching at home, like I didn't really
Yeah,
feel that happy after the quarter time when goals were kicked. It was more just
yeah,
like a relief, if anything, when we got a
yeah,
goal. The
yeah.
Kako one got me up and about because I love Kako, but aside from that,
Yes.
it was just a flat game in a lot of ways. Not even just the injuries, but just the vibe about it.
Yes, the good call. Yeah, it was a really flat crowd, and I thought like that's the time to do it, the cheer, because they've said time and time again, the players in the interviews, that it helps,
Yeah,
and I thought, oh, this was the moment to do it, and obviously I can't start up myself, just in the fetal position and one voice, but yeah, it was flat. And I don't know but the North Melbourne, the 6 of them, they were making real noise. As you say, you could hear them on the TV. So, I don't know. It was not fun. Is this? Do you? I'm assuming you watch the replays to give your ratings and things.
I mean, I usually do. I don't know if I want to watch this one. I'll probably have to watch a bit, at least the highlights or something, like the mini match,
Okay.
because it would be a tough watch.
There's one player I
We'll
want to
see how I
talk
go.
to.
I might. Okay. Yep.
Our number 5.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wasn't great. I mean, first game back, had the week off. Yeah, he didn't look very good, did he? I mean, he looked okay. At times you could tell that that he could be a player, but yeah, I mean, and with Caldwell coming back, it's going to be a bit interesting to see how we fit Caldwell in and not leave Sardis on the outer because I don't know if he fits in that midfield. And the annoying thing is he's just a pure mid. You can't really use him anywhere else around the ground. So if he's not having an impact in the midfield, you can really tell. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. He looked out of place to me tonight. He looked tentative.
Yeah.
Tentative is not a word I would.
Yeah. I was trying to see if I could find any positives from the game, like thinking back on it, but I really can't think of many at all. And even just his tackling pressure, it was like non-existent at times.
Yeah. Agree. As I was just saying, tentative is not a word I would put on him. It never strikes me, has never struck me in the past as a tentative player, but there were moments at contests, he was tentative. I must say, like, it was almost like a switch. His disposal was pretty good, but his intent and his effort and his pressure was really lacking.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Thinking back on it, there was a nice because I'm always worried watching Sardis when he's got the ball and there's no pressure around him, because that's when you notice those bad disposals more, and you see them in the VFL. But he did have some nice moments by foot, which is, you don't say it a lot about Sardis. The only thing is there wasn't really much else to his game.
Yeah. It was topsy-turvy. At the moment, it's one or the other. Like, he's either he either uses it well or he's bollocking into the contest, and we need both of him. And I don't want to give him the excuse that maybe it's harsh, but I don't want to give him the excuse that he's been out. Like, we need to stop that out. Like, he's got to come in and have an impact when he's called on. Like, that's how it works. You step up, as Brad Scott keeps saying, you step up when you need it and you take your chance and you cement your spot. You force coaches to just pick you every week.
Yeah. And I feel like, because obviously North, this is probably a really good opportunity for him because of just how young North are. There are lots of players like Sardis on North who are probably, feeling the same way, that they're, not 100% ready-made AFL footballers yet. This is probably the best opportunity he would have gotten to have an actual game, because next week it's against Sydney with big bodies in the midfield, and that's just going to be even uglier if he isn't up to it. And I feel like there's young North Melbourne players having a good, impact on the game, and Sardis, unfortunately, was just not really.
Yeah, great point. Great point. All right, Felix, I'll leave you there.
I better go do a video.
Let you go do your video. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I hope I see you many more times. It was so good to put a face to your voice. And if you have not checked out Felix yet, Everything Essendon, as I said, he does something very different, goes through all the players, gives them a rating, and as I said, he's always bang on and always has me agreeing with him. So thank you, Felix, for joining. See you next time.
Thank you. See you later.
See ya. Okay. Sam, hello.
Hello. Oh, wow. I'm here.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How did we win that? I don't know.
Thank you for being here.
No worries.
Were you at the game?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay. Talk to me.
Couple of hours. Yeah. So, sitting at the game, first quarter, we were going okay. I think we were playing some pretty good footy, but then the inevitable Essendon just once again putting the foot off the gas and making some of North Melbourne's players look like future Hall of Famers, really, at the end of the day.
Such a good point.
Yeah, 100%.
Such a good point. I mean, I was surprised that we didn't make Larky look like, I thought he'd kick 12. And what did he have? Did he kick a goal? I think he did, but only 1 or 2.
Kicked a few goals.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought he
did.
kicked a few points. Okay, my bad.
He kicked 2 goals, but
okay.
But anyways, but like, yeah, I think all I can really say after that is just maybe give me 15 Zach Merritts and then maybe like a Kako or a Durham and a fit Caldwell, and then I think we should be all right. But
scrap the rest, you reckon?
Yeah, and then the rest, yeah, just put them all in the bin, like put them all in the bin. Put them all in the bin.
Oh, okay. So, well, at the rate that our injuries are going, we might be only left with that many at this rate.
And I said this pre-game to my mate. Like, the worst thing that can happen is that we win the game by a point, and we get a superstar player go down with an injury, and that's exactly what happened. We had Ridley go down in the second quarter, and it seemed like it just went downhill from there. But
so what you're telling me is it's your fault because
my belief is my fault.
Oh, Sam.
My belief.
Sam. So, where are your seats at Marvel? Do you have good seats there?
I was actually in the Medallion Club.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so that was cool.
So, where did you see? I don't know if you saw when Jones did the injury, but were you on that side or the other side?
Other side. It didn't look very good.
Yeah,
looked a little bit,
and he sat there for a while. Yeah.
Yes. But,
so okay, so who was give me your best on?
I think Caddy had some good moments.
Yep.
I think I like how he gets up the ground.
Yep, same.
I think Perkins, I think he's playing in that sort of stringer role. He goes a little bit more on ball and then stays inside forward 50. And I think Merritt once again had a really good game. So I mean, people might disagree, but I think those guys had good games. I think Reed as well also didn't have a bad game.
Yeah, he battled.
Yeah, I would say that. Durham.
All right. I reckon you nailed it there. I think a lot of players had half games. Lots of shit, but lots of good. So they're kind of hard to read at the moment. But thank you so much for joining, Sam. I really appreciate you being here and supporting the channel, and I hope you come and join the lives lots of other times. I will let you go, and I will chat to you soon.
Absolutely. Good night. See ya.
See you, Sam.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. We are going to be in for a treat now with my next guest. You will know him from Footyology. You will know him as a very passionate Essendon supporter. The beauty of this man is that he is unafraid to say what is on his mind. He's unafraid to call it as it is. That is why I love him, because not only is he going to bring us maybe a little scoop or two tonight and some inside information, but he is also going to have some feels, I think, about how this game unfolded. And without further ado, Rowan Connolly. Hello.
How are you? That's the most glowing introduction I've ever had in my life. So thank you. And I love you too, Fiona.
I mean it. Honestly, I tell you, sit right in front of me at Marvel, and it's a pleasure to see you.
I was thinking at one stage in the third or last quarter tonight, poor you having to sit in front of me, because I was getting.
You were up on your feet a couple of times, and not
Yeah, I never get up for the good stuff.
No.
When I get up out of my seat, you know something bad's just happened. And unfortunately, after the first quarter, there was a fair bit of bad going on. But I mean, I'll try. Unusually for me, I'll try and do a bit of a glass half full thing. I thought the first quarter was really impressive. I thought the ball use was spot on, but then I guess you got to put that in perspective too. And in retrospect, when you look back on North's second, third, and fourth quarters, their pressure was so off in that first quarter, which gave Essendon the room to do that stuff. And once they applied the pressure, they found a lot harder going, and it just developed into that. And as I said to, I don't know, whoever, they're a nice little group that sit around us, aren't they? But I said to a few of them, I said, do we ever not make hard work of it? Is it possible to enjoy a single Essendon game even when they win? So here we are again where, what's the win-loss ledger now? How am I going?
4-3.
4-2? 4-3. We're in the black, and I don't feel like, I guess I'm on fan cam. I can say we. I shouldn't do that as a rule.
No, absolutely.
I think the previous.
Your connection is dropping out a little bit. It's a bit fluttery, just like our team. I don't know if there's anything you can do to fix that. We can't fix our team.
Yeah, it might be my internet.
That's okay. We'll battle on. We'll take whatever we can get.
I feel like the previous two seasons, we're sort of in the black, but I don't feel like we've played well at any stage, really. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it can be a sign of a team. And I think this is one constant with Brad Scott, coached Essendon, that the effort level generally has been pretty consistent. They haven't had many absolute shockers.
No.
But I just think our skills, particularly under pressure, are a long way off. And, the other thing is, I think the club recognises this too. I think the club is actually in a pretty realistic place about where they are and what needs to happen still. And I think supporters are getting that way as well. I feel like overall there's a bit more realism from Essendon fans about where the club sits. I get a bit annoyed when people start saying, this group could be anything. We need a new coach. And for me, that's just nut. We're in a big reality check. And anyway, that's big picture stuff. But as far as tonight goes, first quarter really impressive. After that, a slog, but we won. That's really it in a nutshell, isn't it? But clearly there's going to be a bit of a price paid. Now, I can, if you want, it's not a scoop. I was in the rooms after the game. So the Jones one, I don't know. Okay, well, the doc, I didn't speak to the doc directly, but I did speak to, I think Dave Barham actually said this. The doc had told him they thought it was like a 12-week job. So probably not the full season. The other interesting one, Andrew Welsh. It's funny. I had this flashback. I was talking to Welsh, who I hadn't seen for a while, actually, and he said, "Yeah, I did the same thing." And I said, "Yeah, I remember that. It was a pre-season game out at Footscray, and he said he only ended up missing about 8 or 10 weeks or something." So, a lot depends on the scans, though, because obviously if there's a fracture or whatever, and it's not sort of a clean dislocation, he's probably stuffed for the rest of the year. But I mean, we can talk about what value he plays in that side. But I mean, beyond that, you've got Ridley.
I think we could argue that
he's probably 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, the Jones thing. Look, there's no doubt he has a crack. I'll tell you what, it's interesting. Someone at Essendon was telling me during the week, one valuable asset he has, unfortunately, it's not an on-field thing, but they reckon he's a great link between the really young guys on the list and the experienced guys. So,
wow, that's interesting.
Things like that are important.
That's really interesting.
Well,
but you know what? It's not actually.
It's
It's not unsurprising, Ro. I think he's like in his first couple of seasons, I was really a doubter. But the one thing I gave him was that he's a great hype guy. On the ground, he's the first player to a player when they kick a goal. He's tapping them on the back. He's getting the energy up. He's a great hype guy. I always said that about him. So it's unsurprising to hear that he's actually that link, because he seems like the kind of guy who could connect with an older group, more mature group, but also young enough to be able to, speak the lingo of the Gen Zs.
And you know what? Just on that theme, I was saying I went with my son and daughter tonight, and they were lucky enough to go into the rooms as well. And I was talking to Todd Goldstein, and I've got to say this: if he, I've met a lot of people in footy. He's in the top 10. He's the best bloke, Goldie, and he's a great clubman. He's a smart footballer. I thought he was great tonight. I thought he really soldiered on. He was sore. He was hurt. And
he looks
just speaking about that, people sort of asking about what do we get Goldstein for? Well, one of the main reasons, as well as being a teacher for Draper and Brian, he's also a great clubman who keeps people up and enthused, and he's friendly, and he involves people, and you can see people just love him, So guys like that do have a value that we probably don't see when we're just sort of measuring them in terms of on field. But I actually thought Goldie was pretty good on field tonight as well.
Yeah, look, I think it's hard because Sherry is quality. He's essentially another midfielder for the Roos. So the opponent has to be taken into consideration here just as much as anything. So I never expected him to get the chocolates tonight over Sherry, but he battled hard. He looked really sore.
Yeah, you want someone who can at least be competitive, and he competes. So you can't ask a lot more. And look, I mean, the injuries are going to make it hard. The glass half full way of looking at that is they're absolutely going to create opportunities for Lewis Hayes and people like that. So that'll be an upside as well. And go on.
I mean, I was going to say, Ro, like, I don't want to jinx anything, but in the position that we have depth, the midfield, no injuries. Touch wood. Everywhere else on the ground.
Well,
like, how is this happening?
Well, you might. I mean, that depth might even get a little bit better. So I think Parrish, he's had calf now, isn't he? But you think Parrish is going to play some part in the back half of the season, and that that obviously helps Merritt. Corwell comes back. He's been a big loss. So, I mean, the thing is, you can't bang. I mean, every club gets injuries. Some clubs cope with them better than others. I'd hate to be Sydney at the moment. They're missing so much quality. But, Essendon obviously can afford fewer injuries than a lot of teams. So, injuries, Ridley is structurally going to be a massive loss. But like I said, opens the door for a Hayes to come in. And, he's been banging on the door for a while. So it'd be good to see him in at senior level and see how he goes. We win more experience, more games into Kako and Caddy. Actually, you know what? I mean, I was listening to your last guest, and I sort of agree with his best. For me, Merritt was clear best on ground, sort of as per usual. But I reckon that's the best game Caddy's played for Essendon. I just thought the goals aside, I just thought his marking tonight was really sure and strong, and he worked his ass off, and he really had a crack, and he was marking strongly, like he's frustrating sometimes because he drops marks, but he was really latching onto him tonight. So I thought he was a big positive. And another one, may not be as conspicuous, but I love the way Archie Roberts is developing. He's just becoming real week to week consistency,
Yeah. He just looks like a player his spot is not going to be taken off him. No, if it's in his hands, he will not. Yeah, he just looks like he's forcing Brad Scott to put his name first picked. With the Jones injury, I just want to ask, what's the threshold? Do we put him on the long-term injury list and take an extra player on May 28th, or if it's 12 weeks, let's say, if it's a 12-weeker, is that long? Like, what's the threshold to actually put someone, or because if you do that, they're out for the season. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's actually a really good question. And 11:45 p.m. after the game's been played, I'm afraid I can't answer it. Once upon a time, I would have had an answer for you, but I've slipped on that sort of day to day. So you know what I was thinking about Harry Jones. This is going to sound really weird, but if he doesn't play again this year, I reckon, rightly or wrongly, I reckon it probably enhances his chances of staying an Essendon player, because they'd be, if he played out the rest of his season and didn't fire a shot, I reckon he'd be gone. Whereas now, if he doesn't play again, there's going to be that thing, well, he had another injury interrupted season. Do we need to sort of give him another 1-year contract and see how he goes? I'll tell you this. I know the feeling, I think, I certainly haven't discussed this with Brad Scott, but I think the feeling of the footy people at the club is that, the wing thing is just a stopgap thing. I reckon if he is going to make it, it's going to be as a third tall. And the analogy that was made to me was Jack Gunston. And geez, if you end up with a Jack Gunston, you're doing pretty well. I'm skeptical. I think the guy's in his 6th year. He's played 50 games. He really, for me, I don't think has shown enough, aside from maybe half a season in his debut year. I'm just, call me a hard ass, but I just think you should have you should know whether a guy's going to make it or not after 5 or 6 years, And
Bro, I'm going to challenge you on that. 5 to 6 years, no. 2 years, and Brad's had him for 2 to 3 years, or 2. This is Brad's 3rd year.
Yeah.
So I want to judge him on when, like I've said on podcasts before, I am judging from the second that Brad had his hands on the players that he drafted. So starting with Sardis, that's the first player he brought in under his, the first draft. That their development, your Sardis, your Roberts, your Caddy, your Kako. The administration that walked in the door that drafted from that point, that their development is who I'm judging. The ones before that, the Andy McGraths and Langfords and all of that, they came up in their previous culture. No more judging of them. We know what we're getting from them, don't we? So I want to see, like, can you expand a bit more on where, because I know you've had chats to the club on this in terms of just expand a bit more on how they do see Jones. So do they see him playing on that? So playing on the wing, what? It's just to develop him into having some versatility moving forward?
I think that really is a stopgap measure. And it's like I said, I was basically told by someone, if he is going to make it, it's got to be as like a third tall. He's never going to be a key target in the caddy mold because he doesn't have the body strength, and he's never going to. I mean, have a look at him. I'm bigger than him, I reckon, and I haven't had 6 pre-seasons at the club. Like, what do they have a weights room there? What's the story?
Yeah, I know.
He does. He does what he does do well when his confidence is up, and that's the other thing with him. He has that, and I'm going to drag an old name out here, Royce Hart. He does this thing. He sort of floats in from the side, and that's sort of that's the impact your third tall can have if you've got 2 other decent key forwards who are occupying a decent defender. Then the third guy's the guy that slips under the guard, but. I've been told, like it really was until this happened tonight, make or break year for him. And that's what I'm getting at, that if he went on playing through this year uninjured and delivering the sort of performances he was, I reckon that's it. However, now, I just think that they might think, well, can we really make that final call given that he only played, 7 games or whatever. So, look, it'll be interesting to see. One thing, in my chats with the club this week, like one thing, and I just hadn't stopped and done the numbers, but they really have affected a fair bit of change in terms of that list. I was told the number is 20. There's 20 guys who are on that list in 2022 who aren't there now. That's a pretty big turnover over the course of 3 off seasons. That's half a list, So, and that's getting back to what you're saying about you can only judge in some ways the Brad Scott era. I reckon you start looking at how this group has gone after about 3 more national drafts, right? But as I've said to you and whoever else wanted to listen, the club is still paying the price for there's no getting around it. Poor drafting, poor list management, and poor development. Now, development has certainly been paid attention. They've beefed up that department by about, I think, 3 extra full-time employees.
That's right.
There's a different list manager now. The recruiting's got a different set of eyes. And so one thing about Craig Voslo too, he's a CEO, but he's a very football savvy CEO who was West Coast football manager for however long, 10 years or whatever. So that's another pair of eyes as well. And, I think I'm liking what I'm seeing with the newest parts of this list, i.e. Kako, Caddy. There's some excitement. Roberts, I think, he's not flashy, but he's going to be a good player. And I think as he gets more confident, you might see him go through the midfield a bit more and he becomes a more exciting prospect as well. I'm seeing more to like about those guys, and I'm seeing the signs earlier, and I'm seeing more consistency. And that, I'm sorry, but that is what the other clubs do as a matter of course, and Essendon hasn't for nigh on 20 years. And, it takes a while we've turned over 20. Okay, well, another 3 off seasons, we turn over another 20. There's a full list. You've finally got the list you want.
That's right.
I can keep going all day on this. I
100% agree, and that's why, like, when people try and challenge me on it, I say let's judge. So we've listed the 4 of them, like Kako, Caddy, Roberts. Was there one more? 4. Okay, it's late. I can't count, but like that group, like. Now the next draft, double that. Well, that's 8 or 7. Then double that again, and then you've got a group that have come under that administration, have come up with that culture building. And yes, this is it's terrible that we're saying that this is not just a thing that happens, because it just happens at Geelong and Sydney, and we're only catching on now. 20 years of mediocrity, and we're catching on just now. But that's the reality. Perspective is important, right?
Yeah. And personally, I personally, I wouldn't be going after a Harley Reid or, another big name. No, I wouldn't, because I think, I mean, if you can get someone like that without losing any capital, fine. But, that's not going to happen. I don't want us to sacrifice another first 2 picks for a young guy who has had, a great debut season, but who knows what's going to happen with him? I'm a draft skeptic, right? So I think you'd be much better off having, say 5 picks in the top 30 or 40 than pick, 7 and 8, and then your next pick is 70. I mean, the draft is littered with great players who were taken at, relatively mediocre numbers, and it's littered with duds who were picked at 1, 2, 3, less so in recent years. But we need numbers. We don't just need one Harley Reid. We need 3 or 4 Archie Roberts. And you get 3 or 4 of them, and you add them to the existing Archie Roberts and Kako and Caddy and these other younger, and maybe Hayes debuts and he turns into a star as well. Oh, I'm seeing you twice. It puts a whole new complexion on things, and we need that depth of not only quality. We need that depth of talent. We need more skill too. The other thing I think is a big premium and will be a focus of this footy department is getting some more outside run. And I know people say, we had D'Ambrosio and we let him go. Well, we shouldn't have. And I think people there know that shouldn't have happened. But, getting some sort of more run and leg speed, that changes the way you changes your game plan, because it means you don't have to be as cautious with your ball movement.
That's right.
Which we are now. I mean, let's face it, we're hardly the Harlem Globetrotters with our ball movement, are we? It's pretty tedious to watch sometimes, but you have to cut off the fit, So all those things are happening, and this is why. Sorry, there is a point to my ramble here, and it basically
continue. We could listen to you all day.
Okay, well, this group has a plan. They do have a plan, and that's something Essendon administrations haven't always had. And I'm all I can say is how I feel about it. I'm impressed with this mob. I think they know what they're doing. They're committed to staying the course. And the worst thing that could happen is if, the natives start banging the drums and people say, "Oh no, Brad Scott, another coach will make all the difference." That's not the point. This group of players could be coached by Jock McHale, and it wouldn't be good enough to win a flag. Right? So we just need to keep going the way we're going, and maybe 3-4 years down the track, then you're looking, okay, is this a coach we need to take us to the next level? Blah blah blah. But we're a long way off that, and we've never had the patience to get to that point. And there's been several crossroads in the last 20 years where the club could have but didn't. And probably the one that sticks in my mind the most is at the end of 2017. We limped into the finals, got smashed in Sydney, had a good draft hand, sacrificed it to get the 3 S's. Smith, Sard, Stringer, and then Shield the next pre-season. Okay, so Smith won a best and fairest, got injured, bad luck. Sard pretty good. Stringer, I don't know, the pros I don't know if the pros outweighed the cons in the finish, but it denied us getting far more players who might have been more durable and would still be playing for us, not sort of washed up because of injuries or behavioural issues or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was we really missed a big chance there. And I think people who follow the industry and whatever agree with that. And this group's determined not to make the same mistakes. And I like the way they're going about it. So if I'm speaking, I don't know how many people I'm speaking to, hopefully thousands are watching your fan podcast, but
they will tomorrow, but we have about 100 with us right this minute, so that's pretty good for midnight.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, hi everyone.
I think it's all you. I don't think I'm bringing any. I don't think I'm bringing any of them to the yard.
No, rubbish.
I think it's all you, bro.
No rubbish.
Yeah, I think. All
I want to say, sort of finishing off this point, is I think it's really important that the fan base recognises 2 things. One, we're not good enough. We're not good enough to finish top 4. Maybe we could scrape into the finals. But, is that really such a big deal? We've done that before. It's not really fantastic to scrape into the finals and get smashed.
No point.
Let's aspire to something better. And the only way we're going to do that is by holding firm, staying with this group, running the club, rebuild that list, which we're still several years away from getting to that stage, then assess it. For God's sake, don't give in to the impatience of, we're not winning enough games. We should be winning 12 games instead of 8. It doesn't matter. You need to be able to win 16, 17 games and 3 finals. And this list is not going to achieve that. I'll tell you right now as I live and die. So let's just build it, and, the success will come. To adapt a line out of Field of Dreams. I'm not Kevin Costner, but anyway.
I think it's so important because it's an emotional game, and we're emotional supporters, and we have been promised the world and been let down time and time again. And so when it's like dangling a lolly and then taking it away, we are used to the lolly being taken away. And so when you ask us to trust and to believe, it's like we've been burnt before. Why should we do it now? But that's why I think you are so vital in this conversation, Rowan, because I take your word as gospel, because if you tell me, that's why, everyone who's listening to this, the second that Rowan said, and we've spoken at the footy for years, and you have said to me before Brad Scott came in, nah, this ain't it. This is just not it. And so you were honest. You were talking on a whole, administration, players as a whole entity. And then Brad Scott came in and you said, this is going to take time, but in my opinion, we're on the right course. And from that moment, I literally I relaxed in myself and I recalibrated my expectations because I thought, all right, Rowan knows this. He is as passionate as all of us and wants success and is unafraid to put people on the line who are really jeopardizing and putting themselves first before the club. I'm talking about administrators I won't name because I don't want to get sued. This is only my second live and I can't get sued straight away. But that's why I think it's important for everyone watching this to take a breath on what Rowan's saying, because he does speak from a very experienced place. And on that, you had chats with the club this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I went out there and spent a bit of time out there and caught up with a few people, which, look, I probably should have done that a fair bit earlier, but I'll be honest. I mean, there's been times in the last few years where, I get fired up and I'll write a column or, sound off on a podcast or whatever. And then, sort of you get disappointed again. And there have been a couple of stages in the last couple of years where I just kept thinking, geez, can I really keep doing this? I'm in a position now where I am actually going to Europe at the end of this season, but I could go and sit on a beach in Saint-Tropez or something. I don't need to be watching Essendon playing Gold Coast at Carrara on a Sunday night. Do I really want to keep doing this? Well, I do. If there's a chance I can we can have some more success, because I was lucky enough to experience that as a kid and then as an adult, and it's such a great thing to follow a footy team and see them grow, and you sort of go on a journey together and with your friends and your family and whatever, and then you get, you win the ultimate. It's such a great thing. And you
want to see your kids.
I mean, I've got a 29-year-old daughter who was 5 when we last won our last flag. I've got a 23-year-old son who was 2 when we last won a final. Wasn't born when we last won a flag. So, and I want them to experience that joy. So listen, just before I forget it, you made a really good point before about this administration, and this is another point I'd like to make to people if they're sort of skeptical. One of the things I really like about this group, and we're talking about Dave Barham, we're talking about Craig Vozzo, we're talking about Matt Rosa, Dan McPherson. Yep. They're not beholden to anyone. Essendon has been such an incredibly political club where I'm not saying the people who play the politics aren't, a lot of them are good people, but what happens is they end up forming allegiances and there's factions and, I'm reading your questions. We all ask the question, do we want to keep doing this? Yeah. Well, Windy Hill wins. Yeah, I know. Well, I've been asking it probably longer than you. I've just turned 60. I'm sick of bloody asking it. But sorry, the point I was making, this group, no one in this group has a foot in any camp. And actually, if I could just, sort of push my own barrow here for a minute. One of the reasons,
100%.
And we were talking about this. I feel like I like to think my opinion on the club is pure, because I've never been in the Sheedy camp or the Hurd camp, or the Lloyd camp or the Watson camp. I know all those people. I've got time for them all. I get on with them. I've followed the club for 55 years. I've worked professionally with them for 43, but I've never wanted to throw my lot in with them and okay, this guy will give me a story if I write good stuff about him. I don't do that, right? And I think that's really compromised people in positions of power at the club, because they're always looking over this and going, okay, move this guy on? Is that going to set that guy against me? And then that makes my life tougher, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
One of the great things about Brad Scott as coach particularly, and this is one of the main reasons I think he's the right coach now, is he doesn't give a shit, right?
I love that.
He doesn't give a shit if people really like him or not, you know? And that doesn't mean he's a nice guy, Brad. And he's a friendly guy, Brad, and I think he's quite sensitive, you know? He's pretty private, but he's a good guy. He's a decent guy. He's an intelligent guy. But he knows where he wants this club to go. And if it means, I'm offending this coterie group member or this director or whatever, he doesn't give a stuff.
Love it.
If the club and the side is going to be better off for it. So this is part of what I'm trying to talk about the clean slate, right? Yep. It's a club that's been riddled with factions and division for way too long. And we now at least have a group of people running the place who don't play that sort of bullshit and realise that it's held us back and we need to drum it out of the place. And that has happened. And I talked about the list, but it's happened in an administrative sense and in a hanger-on sense too. You know, the people I see sort of on the periphery of the club now are people with really good intentions. They're not just out to further their own, make their CV look better or do a bit of, groupie stuff hanging around this famous former player or whatever. And boy, this club needs that. I'm confident that these guys are on the same page and they're getting there with that. Again, sorry, I'll keep going, but this, it's all connected, right? So, so I do get frustrated when, I'll write something about this and do that big picture thing, and then someone says, "Yeah, but if we just play Jones in a forward pocket," well, yeah, okay, but that's that much of the picture. The picture is this. And that stuff really at the moment isn't necessarily the most important thing. So, of course, I want to see us win week to week. That keeps people up and about. But there's a much bigger picture being painted here. And I think it's really, really important that the fan base stays on board with that.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, doing those little things would just be Band-Aids to get a quick fix. So we can feel good. So we can feel good in the moment. But that's going to fade when the next week we don't replicate that performance and then we ask why. It's these little changes that are happening behind the scenes. And just on Brad Scott and the administration and how you describe him, I love that because that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to block out the beating drums when we're losing. He knows the voices that are coming. Yeah. I mean, when we lost 2 games when we were expected to lose, there was 27 negative articles written. Carlton were losing lost the first 4 games, and there was not one article written about, and they were flagged. Some people tipped them to win the flag. Like, that's really loud jungle drums that they are blocking out at the moment. Brad Scott, the administration, and I find that really admirable because it would be so easy to just go for that quick fix, the Harley Reeds, the moving Jones back in his position. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone's going to have a say on that. So I just love the courage to stick fat.
And that's why, people will get frustrated when they see Brad after a loss and he's still relatively calm. They're going, why don't you get angry? Yeah. Give him a rev up sort of thing. But it's because deep down, look, he wouldn't want to say this publicly, but, he knows that this list is short of the mark, So we have to play the long game. Doesn't mean you can't learn and educate and have some joy in the meantime. That's important. Of course it is. But there's a bigger picture here. It was interesting after Anzac Day. So I did both coaches' press conferences, and I said to Brad, I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but it was basically, I thought the difference between the two
you called the list. I'll remind you, Rowan. You called the list vanilla. I don't think he liked that question, but
vanilla,
he answered it.
Yeah, no,
Oh, I don't think Rowan's Wi-Fi is holding up too well during this stream. Come back to us, Ro. Tell me, people, is it just me that Ro's paused on? Oh, okay. Okay, it's not just me. Oh, there we go. Got you back.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. But that's, I mean, I'd love to see you, but if you can't, if we can't see you.
I shouldn't have clicked the button. No, hang on. I think I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was about to try and read.
Don't worry. I'm using this first month as all the teething issues for the fan cams. So we're good. We're back.
I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with that.
Rewind and tell me what you were saying.
I just when I said vanilla, I was probably talking about the clear difference between Collingwood and Essendon on Anzac Day was their ball use versus Essendon's ball use. You know, they're sure with their ball use. In fact, I've written a column for ESPN tomorrow about Collingwood and Geelong because they're the two oldest sides in history. Geelong were the oldest side ever when they won in 22, and now it's Collingwood. But they're getting such great value out of Pendles and Sidebottom and Danger for Geelong. Essendon doesn't have those guys. But anyway, I digress. I was just sort of saying, surely we have to place a premium on recruiting players who have really solid skills, a bit like Hawthorn have done over a long period of time. Use of the ball by foot is an absolute premium for them. And it was just his answer. He sort of said, yeah, well, I can only sort of work with what we've got. You have to talk to the recruiters. But I sort of, he agreed. I mean, this, and as you said before, this isn't necessarily his list. Let's judge him fully when he's got 40 odd players who are his and he's overseen and had a hand in choosing, developed, coached. Then you judge him on that. So, I've forgotten what the initial point was here, but I mean, basically, we need to be more skillful. We need more talent. We need more run. But before all that, that's sort of putting the cart before the horse. Before any of that, we need a stable club where all the departments in a club aren't bickering with each other, creating their own fiefdoms, running their own business interests on the side, so the club becomes a sort of a thing in the background, and having football as a focus, rather than the more commercial thing, which I thought got way out of hand, and that's sort of what led to Essendon becoming less of a power club, 25 years ago. So, it's a long litany of errors and disasters and whatever, and it's got us to a pretty ordinary place. But someone just messaged coterie groups have sabotaged my life. I'm actually all right with the coterie groups, I think. Anyway,
are you?
I think so. I don't know. Like, I've never wanted to be part of that scene. I'm not an aspiring, business tycoon or anything. My politics wouldn't allow that. But yeah, I for the first time in a long, I have confidence that the people running the club know exactly what they want to do and have the strength to see it through and not give in to pressure because they're worried about, getting voted off a board or getting sacked from their position because they're not getting enough wins.
And it's the other important,
and that's why you need a Brad Squatters coach.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you said that's really vital to kind of get through to the fan base is that, like, they're under no illusions, as you said, that this list is not quite good enough. And
and
Rowan,
I don't know.
But Rowan, that's the part of me that feels like we really need a Harley Reid because this list lacks quality. And Harley Reid, and he's the first player in a long time who I've looked at. I didn't even feel like that about Jason Horne-Francis, to be honest. He is the first, even his antics now at West Coast, I just see that as him, that manifesting. And I said this on the lives last week. What do you think Ben Cousins, how do you think he was acting when he was that age? And, you know, the likes of him, like, to me, I see that manifesting in Harley into just being an absolute star. And as you said, if it doesn't cost us an arm and a leg, and he will, but a part of me is like, isn't it worth it?
Yeah, no, and I absolutely get that. Couple of things though, I've got to say, look, he's clearly a really, really good player, but I don't look at him and think he's much better than other number one draft picks over the years, you know. And then you've got guys like, I mean, have a look at, for instance, you know, the Ashcroft brothers at Brisbane. They're great, you know, like that. They haven't had the same sort of fanfare, or maybe a little bit. My point here is, though, if you can't recruit a Reid without giving up significant capital, and that just can't happen.
Yeah.
Let's hang those 3 draft choices, recruit 3 talented kids with the right focus. So we're looking at good ball use, bit of them, you know, good psychology, you know, strong of mind, whatever. And then with a better development program, you know, we develop them more quickly and with foundation to their game. And then and I'm just, you know, shooting the breeze here, but with a better strength and conditioning program, they don't get injured, so their development isn't hindered. You know, all things go well, then you've got 3 quality youngsters coming into your side rather than just 1. And have a look at all the you know, the beds of the 21st century. Who are we talking about? We're talking about, you know, Geelong. You had a nucleus of a side that all came in the space of about 3 drafts. You know, Johnson, Enright, Corey, Ablett, Ling, Mackie, blah, blah, blah. Hawthorn later on. It's, you know, Franklin, Roughhead, Lewis, Mitchell, blah, blah, blah. It's a significant core. So, you know, I think you're probably better off getting a clutch of players who are really good players rather than 1 superstar.
Okay, yeah. I'm probably getting lured in.
But I totally understand your view, you know, and
I'm just good. I think I'm a bit scarred, and you know, the jury's out on these players, but I'm a bit scarred by our top 3 picks being Cox, Perkins, Reid. Now, Reid is going to be an absolute star. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But I think I'm a bit scarred. I'm comparing that to those 3, and how are those 3 going? Perkins still could be a star, and who knows, maybe Cox is a star. But I think that's possibly, I'm getting lured by the Harley Reid factor, and also using that.
Well, the thing about, look, one, you know, like there are a lot of excuses coming out of Essendon's list management recruiting department about, you know, well, this happened. The one thing that does carry a bit of weight is that 2020 draft was off the back of no one playing, you know, so they were, you know, because of COVID, no one played. So they were assessing these guys off not. And if you have a look at it, I don't remember the exact order now, but it's not a draft where the biggest coup out of that draft is Max Holmes, who was picked up at, I think, pick 20, and he'd barely played. He was, I've known Max since he was a little kid. You know, I could have told him this guy to get the star.
Why don't you just, write his name on a piece of paper and give it, put it under the door as a hanger?
I'll get a story. So my son David went to primary school with Max, and Lee Naylor, Max's mum, is a Olympian, you know, a great sprinter for Australian athletics. And anyway, Lee used to pick the boys up and take them home to her place, and I'd, you know, when I work or whatever, I'd pick him up, and I'd have a coffee and whatever, and we'd sit there, and the boys would be playing around in the front yard, kicking the footy or whatever. and I can still remember this. I think about 7. They're in grade 2, and David's okay. He's not. He's in there, but like, he's not. He wasn't a superstar. He was okay, but Max, his drill little short passes, lace out, hitting David on the chest, 30 metres out. And I said, I remember one day I actually turned to Lee and I said, Lee, he's going to play league footy. And she goes, don't be silly, And then he got drafted. And I said, I told you. And now he's a best and fairest winner, It's great to be able to live vicariously through self having watched them grow up. But I should have been more proactive. And
you absolutely should have. Just if nobody was going to listen, you didn't even have to sign your name, Rowan. Just write his name on a paper and just put a hood on and go to the hangar and slide it under the door.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd said that to Adrian probably would have wanted to sort of deal with him or something like that. Adrian, the kid's 7 years old. He's not really one for doing deals.
But how much of that is Geelong's development? Like, would he be excelling somewhere else?
They are, for me, I love that club. I mean, I'm an Essendon supporter, but I love Geelong.
Me too.
They are, they're a great club. They really are a great club. Good people, so well run. And in an on-field sense, what happens there that is what happened at Essendon, from mid-80s onwards, is that the right values and lessons and whatever are just passed down from generation to generation. And so a young kid comes into the system and he's learning from, Joel Selwood and Tom Hawkins and Tom Stewart and these guys, and Joel Selwood was learning from, Cameron Ling and Steve Johnson and Andrew Mackey, et cetera, et cetera. It just perpetuates itself. And that's what Essendon had for a long time. But, the ability to spot talent, nurture it. Stephen Wells, their, veteran recruiter and list manager, whatever, he's just an absolute, some people just have a genius for spotting talent, and he's one of them. Andrew Mackey has now taken over that sort of recruiting role. And, he's what I love about Geelong with their young players is they have a think about how many players they bring into their sides, and they don't expect too much of them, but they'll always contribute a bit. And then the contributions just grow and grow, and all of a sudden they're playing important roles. Now, here's a good example. So, Max debuted in 21, and he was handy. He was never a game breaker, but he played about 14, 15 games, handy. The next year, he improves again. He becomes a really good player for them, really unlucky to miss out in the premiership. His contribution keeps going to the point where in his fourth season, he wins the best and fairest. Last year, look at the emergence of Ollie Dempsey, like Dempsey and a glimpse here and there. And then last year he just goes bang, because the development is sound. I'll give you a tip. I reckon the next one to do that for them is that guy Mitch Nevitt. He can really play. He's blonde, of course. You've got to be blonde to play for Geelong, and you've got to wear one of those Alice
and
bands.
The headbands.
He does it. So their development, they just know their development. It's a great culture, good people running the club. They never get ahead of themselves. It's funny. I know people get sick of Geelong or whatever, and that they're not that popular, but I've stood that because I've always thought they were quite humble about all that success, even back when they won the 3 leagues in 5 years. I'm fortunate enough to have got to know Jimmy Bartell pretty well, through first at Geelong, but then having worked with him. And, they're really good people with good values and not full of themselves. And they're just a great club. Now, again, to get back on point here, I think the people running Essendon now know what makes a club like Geelong tick and aspire to that and are keen to sort of do that, and Essendon in the past has always been too full of we're Essendon, we don't want else, we do things like this and it works. Well, it's taken 20 years for people to realise, it worked in the 20th century, but it doesn't work now because the landscape's changed. And now we're finally, as a club, I think, going, okay, what are they doing? Let's take a bit of that and, see how that works. But it's a long process, and you got to have patience.
And I think it's also important to point out that Rowan's not saying that, Brad Scott's the man and he's going to take us to the promised land, or, all these people are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I think the important part is that Brad might not be. But what's most important to know is that previous administrations were very self-motivated there, and there's none of that happening right now at the football club. The priorities are really in the right place. I can see that, and I'm not at the club every day, so someone like Rowan has a really good insight into that. Brad might not be the person, but the successful priorities are in place to eventually to set up a good football club. As you say, development is the biggest thing, and recruitment. They're the two for me, and I have seen a shift in that, and so I'm happy because the common denominator was the recruitment.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd say this. I remember when they chose Brad. Adam A was a candidate. And great raps on Adam Uze, and Richmond are doing it tough, and it's tough for him. But I'm pretty confident he'll get there. But the point then was, I would have been happy with Adam Uze, but I think the important thing is, I don't think someone survived the ferocious political environment that Essendon has been. Whereas Brad, he was a tougher. He played under Lee Matthews. He's had success. He's worked. He's coached North Melbourne, a club that continually did it tough in all ways. Worked at the AFL. He's a tough, and that is what I think was required at the time he was appointed, and I think it's still what's required. Don't get me wrong though. I do really rate Brad as a coach, and I think. I think his performance in getting pretty average North Melbourne sides to 2 preliminary finals, that was a bloody great effort. His coaching record at North Melbourne, I think is pretty good. So, yeah,
the thing I really like,
he may not be the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, the thing I really like about Brad is, first thing is that it's his second time in the system. So he's made the mistakes, and he's like, so maybe he was really reactive at North when the jungle beats, when the jungle drum started, and he was reactive, and now he's come to Essendon and he has that perspective, and he knows that when you do that doesn't, when you react to the jungle drums, you don't necessarily get success. So he's blocking out that noise. I like that. Yeah, go.
Yeah, no, spot on. And I just, you made me think of it then. Here's a good example of how he's not afraid to upset people. Now, you can argue how they did it, but the decision at North to offload in one hit, Boomer Harvey, Ferrito, Drew Petrie, and Santo, that took a lot of guts. That was like basically saying, okay, we're changing course. As of now, and it upset a lot of people. And people would say it was the beginning of sort of the end for him, but I don't know. I don't think it's that simple. But yeah, he will not make decisions because he's worried about what someone else is going to think. You certainly don't have to worry about that being a factor. And yeah, I think Essendon has been a club where Ben Rutten, who knows? I'm not saying Ben Rutten would have been a great coach necessarily, but he never got a chance because he was a victim of all those people coming from all angles. Matthew Knight's going back 15 years. Like, who knows? I mean, I like the sort of attacking football we played under Knights. Did we offensive enough? Probably not. But they came for him. Because he wasn't an Essendon person. There's always some thing that forces the plan, even the best laid plans, to be short-circuited. And that, it's just crucial that we stop doing that. And this mob will, I think, not allow happen. And that is the number one most important priority for me about where this club is going right now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't obviously have as much info as you, but I was told, in terms of Brad Scott in his first year, he was just as shocked as when he walked in the door and saw how the club was run and who was let into meetings and who was having a big say when they shouldn't be. That he was shocked.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I was mortified when I heard that because I was embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that a coach coming from the Kangaroos, who haven't had that much success, are not a big club, comes into Essendon and is mortified at the state internally.
And yeah, spot on. And that's part of the price this club has paid for being anchored to its success in the past.
Yeah.
It's there's a phrase I often use about Essendon and Carlton of the 21st century, which is sort of joined at the hip in mediocrity. And they're very similar stories. You know, two super successful clubs, won the most premierships now along with Collingwood, but so wedded to their way of doing things. You know, we are Carlton and we are Essendon, this is how we do things. That this is how we do things is now an anachronism because how we do things has completely changed.
Yeah.
And whilst we, like if I give a lesson, if go back to post the 2000 flag, we were too busy worried about becoming Manchester United of the AFL. We actually said that. We want to be the Manchester United of the AFL. The Bulldogs and St Kildas of this world are going, hang on, we want to win premierships. That's probably a good idea.
Oh.
And we took our eye off the ball like that, and it's, things can change. The landscape can change really quickly. And I think, there's a bit of the frog in a saucepan thing about Essendon. We just sort of, let's do this. Oh, shit, we're behind the whole competition now. I think West Coast have done that. West Coast were a great club. They win that flag in 2018, and then they get a bit – I've spoken to Craig Bozzo about this because he was at West Coast. They get a bit comfortable and just take their foot off the pedal a bit, and then all of a sudden, oh, shit, now there's half a dozen clubs that have jumped ahead of us. You've got to – it's not necessarily easy to do, and I understand why it happens, but we allowed that to happen for 20 years, and that's why there's a huge game of catch-up to play. And look, let's be honest, that's probably why the saga happened, because we were that far behind in terms of physical development or whatever. We said we've got to get bigger quickly. So, that not one of the great ideas, that one, but you understand sort of why it happened, because we'd let things slip. I know I'm starting to sound like a preacher here, but it's like, we've got to see this one through. We just really, I find it really, I'm not a person given to calmness and rationality and whatever, but in this matter, I've sort of, because I've seen it all before. I just know that we have to have a bit of patience and a bit of faith here. And you can say, well, we've been patient for 20 years, but that was with the wrong plan and the wrong people. You haven't been patient and done it for 20 years with a group who knows what is needed and is going about it the right way. So give it a chance.
Yeah. And that's part of when people are whinging about players who were developed pre-Brad Scott. I'm just like, I get it. I get the anger and the frustration, but until Brad Scott's had a say in their development and their performances, I don't think we can judge. And I think it's been so refreshing, and as someone just said in the chat, cathartic to hear you and to listen to you, Rowan. Thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time, giving all of us your time. It is always appreciated. You are welcome any time on this channel, and I hope you will join many more times because, I think it's important that we all hear this, and that just be clear, we're not telling everybody to feel emotional and not passionate and angry sometimes. No problems. Brad Scott's going to get it wrong, and the administration's probably going to make mistakes, but I think as a whole, I think we can agree that the wheels are in place for positive change, and following in the footsteps of clubs like Geelong and Sydney, who have put mountains of work and mountains of resources into development, into recruitment. And I think we are doing that. As I said, as we said multiple times, Brad Scott might not be the man, but at least the wheels are in motion. So I think that's really important to hear. So thank you so much, Rowan. I appreciate you coming on.
Can I just say quickly before I go, seriously, I think this is great you're doing this. I think it's fantastic. I think it's, fans cry out for this engagement. I've mentioned this to people at the club, and they're all for it. I'm sure if someone speaks to them out there, they'll get on board and support it in some way, because this is exactly what the club has been lacking a bit of and needs more of. And look, I get sick of the sound of my own voice, let alone other people, but I'd be more than happy to do this regularly with you, because I know after I watch an Essendon game, I like to sort of, this has been cathartic for me, I like to debrief a bit and sort of let off a bit of steam. So, I'd as long as people want me to do it, I'd be happy to do this for you. So, no, thanks for having me on. It's been great fun.
100%, Ro. Yeah, no, definitely. I am. The people who know me best would describe me as a passionate, emotional person. So hence why I have created a space for us all to come and cathartic and be emotional and, a bit like the club, not hide behind how we actually feel, being honest and upfront. We know it's not a great list, but we're working with what we've got. Well, we know we all feel like crap sometimes, but we're going to get those feelings out there and cathartic and support each other.
You've just got to do me one favour and not tell too many people about my more embarrassing traits when I'm watching a game of footy, because I can make a bit of a dick of myself.
Okay. We'll keep that between you and I, shall we? I won't tell you all the dancing you do in the aisles.
Yeah, no, please do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, please
Sounds
do.
good. All right, Rowan, I will let you go.
I've
taken enough of your time. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.
Go Bombers.
Good night. Well, Bomber fans, I hope you all enjoyed that. I certainly did. I mean, I could listen to Rowan speak forever. He is so knowledgeable on the game, and I'm very fortunate that he's become a friend of mine, and we have good chats at Marvel every week. He's passionate. I think we get along because we are both very passionate and outwardly with our emotion and passion. So we definitely connect on that level. I am certainly fading. You have all been incredible in the chat tonight. I think, as I said, Rowan was the one who brought everyone to the yard, but hopefully you all enjoyed it and got something out of it. I saw a few people saying that they've watched on their commute home. I certainly expect many more of you to get the courage to jump on and join in the future. We had some great people. Thank you to all of you, Sam and Felix and Aaron, Jez, who all came on tonight. Absolutely fantastic. That's what this is about. I want to say thank you to all the incredible new Bombers who I met in the flesh tonight at the game, pre-game. It was great to put some faces to all your names and all the chats that we've had on Twitter for, oh my God, I don't know how long I've been on there now, but maybe 8 years, probably at least. It's just a reminder that this was a really good idea, and just a reminder how many great people are out there and what a community we have. There's been so far no trolling yet, so that's another tick for me, because that was a real element of this whole channel that was a bit, that kind of put me off doing it, I guess, for want of a better, putting it in a better way. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. What's the time? Okay, it's 12:30. But anyway, the point is, thank you for being incredibly supportive. This has been a reminder about how many people are actually in my corner, and this is a place where you can come on and we can be in your corner, you can be in my corner, and we can cathartic and we can blah together. So, okay, I'm officially losing my words now. I'm going to go jump in the shower, have a cup of tea, and maybe I'll watch the first quarter, maybe. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you all for being here. As usual, what day are we? Oh my God, we're Thursday. I will be back Tuesday, you'll get a forecast uploaded onto the channel. And then team selection Thursday night, thank God, back to normal scheduling on Thursday night. So I want to see you all join for the live. It's going to be a very long list of team changes this week. So there'll be lots to talk about. Take care, everyone. Have a good sleep, and I will chat to you next week. Good night.